day. I'm so happy that you joined us today. My name is Sue Jansen. I'm just delighted to be here with a beautiful guest that I've had on before. So I'm excited. I always like bringing people back because we can kind of carry on our conversation. So today we have the privilege of welcoming a truly remarkable individual, and her name is Patricia Muir. And Patricia is not just an expert in her field, she is also a trailblazer and a visionary who brings together a unique blend of quality and professional coaching principles with a profound insights of emotional intelligence. We'll get into that a little bit maybe today. So Patricia is a champion of personal and professional excellence, and she fosters growth for women business owners and executives. And she has a unique approach that combines consulting and coaching and business best practices for women. And she'll have to tell us what micro entrepreneurs are. She founded Maestro Quality over 3 decades ago, and like an orchestra's maestro, she harmonizes business standards, best practices, and emotional intelligence to support business growth without the burnout. So hear me when I say that. So following her experience with cancer a few years ago, she launched the Thrive program, dedicated to helping women to return to work and excel in their lives and their profession after cancer. So Patricia is also developed and launched the Executive Encore for women approaching the crossroads of moving into their 60s, 70s, and beyond, just seeking fulfillment in life, work, and their best life. Today, we're focusing in on, no matter what your age and stage in life, we're focusing in on self-trust versus self-confidence. So Patricia's going to just dive right into that for us, and we want to hear all her wisdom. So welcome, Patricia. You're so nice to have you back. So great to see you.
Thank you, Susan. It's always great when we have a chat. We always
it is.
We got to do that one.
We don't want to tell people how much fun we have prior. We just, just dive into the show and be professional here now.
Oh yeah.
So
Not just great about working with you, professional all the way.
That's what we do. We take this very seriously, but we do like to have fun too, a little bit. So I'm going to put the camera and focus on you right now. So Patricia, just share a little bit about you as well that I didn't share. And then we're going to dive right into that self-trust and self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know the difference and what you found, because I know that you're an expert in that area.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Susan. It's interesting. The words that we use often evolve as we live longer lives, which is a good thing because we start to be a little more discerning about what words we use to either motivate ourselves or to inspire ourselves, or even how we show up in the world, right? So this is what I've been looking at for the last 30 years is, I love words and I love writing, and the work that I do gives me the chance to research and really understand some of those words, especially the ones that come up in myths. The ones that a myth. I'll make sure I explain that a little better.
MYTH.
Yeah. Because these myths have had a profound effect on women through their different stages of life. And as we grow older, although I don't like using that word older, but as we do evolve, our life evolves and gives us more experiences that we can take a look at what's next in our life, right? Mm-hmm. Especially, I work with women such as yourself that have had amazing careers, like maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, or multiple careers. And through those careers, they have developed a lot of not just knowledge, but a lot of wisdom. And I think it's time that we valued that wisdom, not necessarily get validation from outside for it, but for us ourselves to actually value what we have accumulated over the last 30, 40, 50 years. And we're not ready to let go of that. We've invested a lot of time. So that's my life right now, is ensuring that women, as they live longer, appreciate that they don't have to just give in to that. When someone asks them, "Are you ready to retire yet?" Like, I get that all the time, and I said, like, what is that for me? It's certainly not what it was for my parents, and it's certainly not what I want for myself. So I stay away from the word retirement. There's where I'm very discerning about what words I use. I stay away from aging and old age and things like that, because all that kind of language, just I notice with people when they use that kind of language, they internalize the fact
Mm,
that they're not able to do what they were able to do in the past, which is
mhm.
unreasonable to think that you could anyway. Even when you're 20, you couldn't do what you did it when you were 6. So
We
why
don't we don't want to anymore. We're wiser than that.
I think I'd still love to skip double Dutch, but I'm not going to do that.
That's so
I
cool.
tried it a couple of years ago. It was a little jarring, but you know, yeah. So my life is about looking at language, and especially the language that women use uh, to inspire themselves, rather
Mhm,
than giving themselves more hard knocks that they
mhm,
have to try to get over, right?
mhm.
And also to help them with the responses that they need to make sometimes when people are putting them in a stereotype
Yeah.
and saying basically like, when are you going to retire? And when that was first asked to me, about I think that was probably about 15 years ago now, by someone that I worked with when I was in my 30s. He had retired.
Yeah.
He was walking the mall with other people, and I was dressed for business. And he said, "Aren't you retired yet?" And I thought to myself, why would I take someone else's validation of what they think I should be doing right now? And
Mhm.
that's when I created Executive Encore, because I want to give women a voice and
Mhm.
to validate their choice, because
Awesome.
women can have their own choice. They still look at all the choices, but they need to be the final decision maker. For in business, if you own your own business, you have to be the final decision maker, but you do have input from other people. But yeah,
And
that's
you can't wait for people to actually I in social settings, they don't actually say to you, "Oh, what are you up to? Like, what are you doing? Like, what's your job? Like, where do you work?" Or it's like they don't even ask you a question. It's like to help so that you can share all the great things you're doing.
mhm,
So you
mhm.
have to do it for yourself, is what I'm finding.
Yeah, so this is a great platform for that, right? And the
Mhm,
more people, more shows that we have that actually bring out that voice of
mhm,
women,
mhm.
of women who have had these multiple careers and are not ready to sort of sit on the porch on a rocking chair, right?
Well,
That's
whatever retirement means, I guess we all have that concept in our brain as we were little, and especially the 50s and the 60s. I mean, it just meant like a rocking chair and this
that's
dog on the porch, and you're just and then you can't hear and you can't, like a lot of really negative connotations
all, yeah,
that
most
go with
negative.
that. So we have to reinvent that for people
Yeah.
and for our own selves. But I do get the feeling sometimes like I wish somebody would, even our kids would say, "Hey, what are you up to? I mean, you're amazing. Like, what have you been doing lately?" So I can just brag about myself and say, "These are all the things I'm doing." And that's so great. But no, they don't even ask you anymore. It's as if, "Oh yeah, well, you're old, I guess. You don't do anything all day." I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
what they're thinking. But you know what? They're going to be those 30, 40 somethings are going to be there someday. And they're going to I'm hoping that they're going to feel bad about not paying attention to how active and valuable we are at this stage.
Mhm.
I truly believe that.
And how we view life around us and the world around us as well. Like, I find that our language changes as well. We find more things that are awesome, like going for a walk is
Mhm.
an awesome walk. Uh, I went for a walk on a beach with my father-in-law a couple of weeks ago, and the two of us just said, wow, this is beautiful. Like, this is, we said, this is awesome, right? But and I use the word magic because I get that from my dad. I remember him saying, life's magic. So it's
Mhm.
a much better way of looking at things. Like, I know you talk about being happy, but what makes you happy is actually acknowledging that there's magic in the world and there's awe in the world, and taking advantage of those times rather than thinking, oh, I can't do this because I can't walk up that hill, or it's defeating, really. And I do notice, I worked with executives and CEOs in particular at big corporations for several years in helping to prepare for what was next after their corporate life. And we
Ah,
did call it retirement. What's next in retirement? Many of them said, like, I am not even thinking about that because I've got this status of, I'm a CEO, and I have people who depend on me and things like that. And they said, I have no intention of retiring in the traditional way.
hmm. Do you think that women and men have a different attitude towards that word, even because their
Mhm.
self-concept is, I find men, when they do actually retire, like when they're not working where they were working, that their self-concept, and we're talking about self-trust and self as confidence today, but their self-concept of themselves changes. And I think women, because we do so many things and we're involved in so many things, we still feel our value in other areas. Do you find that executive is that, or might be changing now because there's so many more executive
Yeah,
women? Yeah.
um, I was just going to say, I think it's changed through our generation. I still do meet many women who are executives who do not have any interests outside of work or any passions, that their work is who they are. So
Wow.
that is something, that's a bill of goods that we've been sold in our generation, along with other myths. And it tells us that you're important if you've got this title. It's the same for men as well. Um, I find that even with couples, sometimes, this would have been about 10 years ago, women were following their husbands' retirements. Whatever,
Mm.
I had some people say, "Oh, I didn't know that's what you had planned for us." And I'd say, "Oh, for heaven's sakes, like, make your own plans too. Like, get together, like, spend some time together, but also have plans to spend time away from one another." Because, it's different, I think, for everyone. But I think there are certain things that we grew up with, like through our careers, that are now putting us into that position of, I do have some clients and I have some colleagues that are struggling at the moment. They don't want to let go of their corporate position because they said, that's who I am.
Yeah.
That's really not who
Your
you are.
self-identity. It's your identity. Like that's who
It
you see
is.
yourself as.
And
Yeah.
it's status as well, because you can imagine some of them, over the years have, increased their status, and their worth comes from that, right? And so many of them now are worried about that worth actually being stripped away from them without their, not permission, but without their ability to make a difference, because they are in a corporate setting, and if the corporation doesn't want them anymore, then it's stripped away from them. I know many of them are just waiting for the package, and they
Yeah.
said, then I'll decide. And I said, well, if you're being offered the package, the decision's not yours. They're giving you this nice package to leave, but the decision's not yours. So you still need to have that feeling of self-worth,
Mhm.
because that's a loss when the corporation asks you to leave or tells you you're going to leave. That's a huge loss. You
That's
lose your
huge.
social structure, your daily structure of what you do during the day. So there's a lot of things that, back to your question about, is it different for men and women? I think women are sort of catching up with what men were experiencing in the past.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we don't have this mandatory retirement age anymore in Canada. So, yeah, your corporation might make the decision, but that doesn't mean that your career ends. You find other ways of using all that knowledge and wisdom in another venture, if that's.
Mhm. That's the trick, is finding that really special, that little passion that you've always wanted to do, things that you maybe put off all those years, and
Exactly.
that you could take up. So tell us about the self-trust and because I talk a lot about on this show about self-confidence on camera. So talking about executives and women entrepreneurs and coaches and maybe authors who just, that light comes on the camera and they just kind of get that freeze or flight or
Okay.
freeze or flight state. So tell me the difference that you see between those two things.
I'm so glad that you positioned it that way, because I'm going to ask you,
Okay.
why is it confidence? Like, why do we use the word confidence? That
Mm,
a person needs more confidence, or they need to build more confidence. Why are we using that word that actually is an evaluation by somebody else, whether we've got enough of something?
yeah. And everyone has a different meaning to what self-confidence means too, because I know some people I talk to, they figure that if you're self-confident, it's something that you're trying to gain or to get, and then you just get it. I mean, you just are or
You
you
just get
aren't.
it. You just
You
get it.
just get it. But for me, confidence is the steps it takes, the baby steps. Every time you take another step forward, you get more and more confident in whatever you are doing. So if you are on stage, or if you're in that networking marketing group and they give you 3 minutes to tell us, oh, who are you? What are you doing? And you're supposed to just, and like if you're on a Zoom meeting setup, like we're today, the light comes on and you say, okay, my name is so and so, and this is where I'm from, and this is what I do. You have to, it's like they train you how to do an elevator pitch so that everything's put out there, but you need the confidence and the belief in yourself to say that.
There you go. Believe in yourself. So I'm going to get right to the point. It's
Good.
not about self-confidence. There's lots of books written on self-confidence. And I don't know how many times I heard in my career, or I've heard it said to someone else, all you need is more self-confidence. So what is that saying? It's saying that you're lacking something.
Right.
Okay. And that's not true, because
Mm-hmm.
you know that to build a skill, you do need to work on it. So it's not like
Practice.
it's going to practice. Yeah.
Practice always.
Self-trust is at a higher level. And think about this being a higher level of your whole spirit, really. Say, I trust that even if I try this again and it doesn't work right this time, I trust myself to do it again and again and again until I can trust that I will always perform in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at a higher level as well, because in a way we're talking about skills, confidence for skills. But what about in life? Like, some people say things never work out for me,
Yeah, I know.
or the worst one is the imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome's got nothing to do with confidence.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to do with, do you trust yourself
Mm-hmm.
to do what you say you're going to do?
Yeah, say what you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So when women say to me, like, I've got a bit of imposter syndrome here, I said, well, let's take a look at who you want to be, and where are you now? What's caused you to maybe have a dip in what you think is confidence? Really,
Mm-hmm.
what it is, it's a dip in your self-trust. You
Your
don't
belief.
trust.
Yeah, I think that belief in yourself. I've been in situations where people will just stick a mic in my mouth and start asking me questions, and I don't have a clue what I'm going to say. Like I don't even. I honestly don't know. Like you have an idea what you're going to say. Sometimes you prepare in your mind your thoughts, but I've had that situation where something happens to me, and then I don't have, and my mouth opens, and I just stuff comes out. It's like I have to go back to a replay if it was a TV show or whatever, just to say what the heck did I even say. But I do have that trust and that
You
belief.
trust. Yeah.
But it is a trust in my own self.
Yes.
Like I do know that. Like somebody says, oh, come on up and sing a song, I'm like, okay, and I just know I can pull this, I can do this.
That's it. You know you
And
can pull it off.
yeah.
Even if something happens in the band where something goes wrong, you trust yourself to
Yeah.
perform to your standards, and that's pretty much what it is as well,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's more about trusting in what you have done in the past, and keep aligned with, like, take action to always build your self trust. It's like a bank account, right? The more
Mhm.
you deposit, the more investment that you put in there, more comfortable that you feel
Yeah.
with your ability to do whatever, like, for financial flexibility or whatever. So
Mhm.
it's similar to that.
Yeah.
But it's also, we've been affected by our social relationships. Like, our social relationships reflect the strength of our connections, which is
Mhm.
very important as we live longer. and there's social economical ecological elements that position us in a broader context. So this is why I'm talking about self-trust rather than self-confidence. Self-confidence is just repeating something, repeating something, repeating something until I'm good at that skill.
Okay.
But then what?
Yeah.
Self-trust, I can convert that over to, I'm going to try something new now. And I trust myself that if I put time and effort into this, I will be able to make some progress. I may not be able to be have a voice like Susan, like sing on stage like Susan, but I trust that whatever I do, I will enjoy it for one thing. I'll have some fun with it. And going back to what you were saying about having the mic put in front of you, yeah, you very much trust yourself no matter what you're going to, even if you do say something that's not appropriate, you'll recover. You'll recover. It's not the end of the world, right? And so
Yeah.
I think it's really important for us to cultivate self-trust, and we can do that. We can do that by setting a foundation for ourselves. This is what my coaching is about. And of course, setting boundaries, because we can't trust ourselves if we accept input from so many people and we waffle on it, right? That means we're not trusting our own judgment.
That's the worst. Yeah.
And it's about planting seeds of affirmation, purposefulness, and self-awareness. So we can nurture, it's like a garden. We can nurture and shelter our self-trust, protect it from harsh conditions. Harsh conditions are other people telling us that all you need is a little more confidence, Susan, and you'll be able to do this. Well, I brought that sort of thing out.
Yeah.
I don't listen to that anymore. Like, who are they to say I'm not confident, right?
Yeah, it does give a negative connotation. Yeah. And being comfortable, like you said, that word comfortable for me is coming up a lot lately. And it's just honestly feeling comfortable, like this is okay, this is good. And being in a space where this is nice. I am comfortable. It's like a cozy blanket. I can deal with this. This is something positive for me, and I can make it work, whatever it is. And it's just helping having that self-love too. That's kind of a sense of self love, where like you're loving yourself and you're trusting that you can do whatever it is, and just having that comfortableness with your own self. Right?
That's a great point, Susan, because there's another part of emotional intelligence. Like, this is all about self-perception. There's self-regard. It's how you feel about yourself, regardless of any flaws that you have, regardless of anything that happens. You still maintain a strong self-regard. And that self-regard can often be affected by, other things in our lives, especially input from other people that really don't deserve an opportunity to give that input. Like, they haven't earned it from us.
That's right.
But it's actually, when you talk about the imposter syndrome, why do these women think they're imposters? It's because they've listened to all these stories about, well, that, you're not as good as you are. Well, you're good. Or they say, oh, you're good enough. I don't believe in this good enough.
I don't like that either.
You are good. In fact, you are great. And it's not a false sense of who you are. But going back to what you're saying, if you don't love yourself, if you don't have high self-regard, then you're going to allow all these weeds to come into your life, into your garden, that are just going to take
over. They can kill you. They could cause your end if you let it. That's so true. So true. Oh, Patricia, this is so cool. We have to do this again. We're going to do this, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be back next Monday, same time, same station. And we're going to I want to go a little bit deeper into this, because this is something that I think we need to and Patricia's a great person to tackle this with. So I really appreciate her. And I want, Patricia, thank you for being here today. And I'm only just cutting us off now because I just do like an 18-minute kind of TEDx model. So that's the time that I have for today for us. But I know that I'm hoping, if this is just kind of tweaking a few things with anybody out there, and you have an idea and you want to know more, please, in the comments, just type your question, and I promise, we will find it. I will address it personally and privately. Well, not privately on Facebook, but I'll personally address it with Patricia next Monday. So please,
Hey,
that'll make this like our series. This is
I'll
our
be
very
prepared.
series
Yeah.
and self-love, and we're just going to put it all out there and hope that we need you to communicate with us, though, so we have something to say to you. So we want to make this a two-way street, and so please join us next Monday. Bring your questions and type them in right after this show, if you like, right away, and I promise we'll bring those up and address those next week. Okay, so everybody, and Patricia especially, thank you. You're always a beautiful guest. I appreciate you so much.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you all next Monday. Be here. Okay, let's talk more about this. Let's even go deeper. Okay, I'd love that. That's why I love doing this more than, that's why we like, Patricia and I both agreed to do this like a series, like at least 2 in a row, so that we can carry on this conversation and go a little bit deeper. So let's do that together. So please key in, tune in, go to Living and Loving Each Day, or Patricia's website is also there. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Take care.